Welcome to the Peeew.
Peeew.
The censored, uncensored version.
The self-censored.
The self-censored.
Not self-centered.
Alka-Seltzer. The Alka-Seltzer.
Not self-centered.
Oh, that's if it's Alka-Seltzer, that would mean it's centered. It's centered on my mother.
Okay.
Alka-Seltzer. Alka-centered.
Well, we are not going to say anything objectionable today.
No.
We are not going to say anything threatening or anything that
Hurtful.
will be hurtful or that will embarrass or shame anybody.
Or offend you, and you won't end up in the hospital.
You won't feel uncomfortable. You're going to
guarantee it. You'll go in your settings button and you'll push the button that says that you won't. We'll warn you if you're going to be offended. We'll flash something on the screen, and you'll have 5 seconds to either leave the room or click on the lower left-hand corner of the screen where it'll say.
or a nice little picture of puppies playing.
Puppies.
Will appear.
All different kinds of puppies.
Yeah.
Male, female, and gay puppies, or transgender
Of all
puppies.
colors too.
Transgender puppies.
Yeah. So we have taken those measures specifically to make everybody feel comfortable.
Yes. You feel comfortable?
Yeah. I do.
I feel very comfortable.
Even though we're sitting on
this.
this.
Blankies. We should get blankies. Wrap ourselves in blankies.
It's too early in the morning to be wrapped in blankies.
Is it? It's like feeling afternoon.
It's really hot in here too, isn't it?
You close the window.
We have to close the window because it's too loud outside to record with.
We hope you're not offended by that.
Yeah.
Because some people may like it loud outside.
I know, and that doesn't mean that loud outside is bad.
No. Loud outside can be good. Loud outside is just as good as being quiet outside.
Yeah.
We want to make that clear.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we being so ridiculous?
We're reading an article on papermag.com about this new Google Doc that is online that is going to be filled with suggestions and ideas for nightclubs to help queer, non-binary, gender fluid people feel more comfortable in nightclubs.
What about transgender people?
Them too. We want them to be comfortable, and we want people of color to feel comfortable.
And what about
or
cis,
as they say these days, POC.
What about cis males? What POC? Does that mean?
People of color.
Oh, okay. And what about cis males and cis females? Should they feel comfortable too?
Yes, they need to be made to feel comfortable, even if they're heterosexual.
Even if they're heterosexual?
Yes, everyone deserves comfort.
Even heterosexuals?
Yes.
Okay.
So what's going on?
We live in.
Well, what's going on is that we've learned from this article that some of our queer, people of color, gender fluid, non-binary brothers and sisters
Transgendered.
are not feeling comfortable in clubs. They feel
Because?
threatened. Well, they feel threatened by behaviors of other people.
Other people of color and transgender and queer and
other people, period.
just other people, period.
Yes, so for example, many clubs now have these signs at the entrance that warn patrons that transphobia or unwanted touching will not be tolerated.
You know how I feel about signs at clubs. Signs at the entrances of clubs.
Well, you're the type of person that when you see a sign, you're more likely to do the opposite of what the sign is warning you not to do.
But besides that, about putting the signs up, you'll recall what happened when the city made us put the sign up.
Right, the signs about no drug use.
No drug use. They said no drug use. Drug use of any kind will not be tolerated. If we see intoxication, oddly enough, intoxication of any kind will not be tolerated.
Excessive intoxication.
Well, okay, maybe. I don't remember.
Well, I mean, legally, legally,
a bartender can't.
Right, if you're like really fucked up, a bartender can't give you a drink.
But when the city made us put those signs up, I made wallpaper out of the signs. But the reason is because when we would go to other clubs in other cities like Cleveland or whatever, and they would have those signs that say, no sneakers, no backwards baseball caps, no
do-rags.
You're right, exactly. It just seemed kind of ridiculous because are you saying if Lady Bunny came to do or whatever, you know what I'm saying, that they wouldn't get in? I mean, it's kind of it should be up to the doorman. But
Well, there are no more doormen in nightclubs now.
Oh yeah, because
now clubs are inclusive,
Gotcha,
so they
yeah.
have to let everybody in
Oh my
because
God.
someone might be offended if they're
yeah.
made to feel
and
bad
people
about
wonder
the way
why
they
there is no
look.
more scene. I mean, because seriously, you have to, in order for there to be a scene, there has to be some kind of hierarchy. You know, there has to be something to aspire to. Like the people who enter the scene, the people who are just moving to a city or just starting to go out, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, they kind of need something to aspire to. That will encourage them to dress up and have a personality and be more artistic or more creative or whatever it is that they want to do in order to fit. I'm afraid to even say fit in, but I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, I think that the fact that there aren't door people at clubs now who are deliberately keeping some people out and letting other people in means that one, the clubs claim that they're being inclusive, but when you let everybody in, then you can't be surprised when there's those people who got in are misbehaving or they just don't belong there. And in the old days, those people would have not been allowed in. And in that way, that's how people inside the club who were let in were protected from the boorish or assholish behavior of drunk bros, you know.
And the doorman actually was the thing that served was the thing that served in place of the sign. We didn't need a sign that said no this or no that because the doorman decided. And in fact, we would
decided whether you were cool enough to come in or not, you know,
or tolerant enough,
or tolerant.
Because basically, it was at Disco 2000. If we felt you were tolerant enough to, and we would put almost always a drag queen at the door as a kind of litmus test. That if the security guards and the doorman could see that you could kind of quote unquote handle, you know, dealing with a drag queen, choosing whether or not you could come in, then generally you weren't going to cause any trouble inside. So we didn't need a sign. We needed a Kenny, and believe me, if you could deal with Kenny, if you could handle Kenny, then you could handle anything that was going to go on inside. And we didn't have to worry about you causing a fight or starting anything. And in fact, there were no fights. There were. I mean, I can't remember really.
There were remarkably few fights in our parties.
And if there were, it was because I remember one at Kemke's birthday party at Belvedere that I knocked one of Astro Earl's cones off of his.
Oh yeah.
And he came after me.
He had a hissy fit.
Yeah, and I had to hide under a table.
Yeah.
At a dinner party because he was like looking for me. You know, but besides those kind of fights, I don't remember really any. I don't remember. I don't think those kinds of fights really existed in any, you know, major.
Well, in the article that I was reading, it kind of seemed like it was a complaint about, you know, drunk straight bros, you know, messing up parties, and my feeling about that is, okay, if you have like a queer party in Brooklyn, why on earth would you let drunk straight bros into your party? Just don't let them in.
Yeah, if you don't have a doorman.
If you don't have you don't have a doorman, so that's why they're coming in. Because anyone with $10 can come in. So then once they're in, then you're expecting the club to do the work of the doorman, what the doorman should have done. And by then it's too late though, because then the party's already getting ruined by their boorish behavior.
It's a classic example of yesterday I was talking with a friend about people complaining that they don't have free health care, but then complaining that that their taxes are too high. It's the same kind of thing. It's like you can't have it both ways. You can't say you don't want a doorman and you know you want everybody to come in and then complain that everybody's coming in and causing fights.
And you know what's interesting about this? I think this is a real concern. It doesn't necessarily happen to me a lot. Like, I mean, I go to parties all turned out in looks, and nobody's harassing me or insulting me or even making fun of me at the parties that I go that I can hear, you know. And I am a little hard of hearing.
I believe me, they're doing all of those things.
So maybe they are,
and
but
if they're not, I am.
Well, maybe you are and they are, but you know, hey, I know that I look ridiculous most of the time. So
darn it! I thought you were going to say, "Hey, I know I look great," and I was going to.
So I I'm not surprised if people's reaction when they see me is laughter or ridicule, because I'm basically laughing at
Right. Whatever
myself.
happened to that attitude? Because that was kind of the prevailing attitude of everybody.
Right. Well, now everybody's a serious artist and a fashion model.
Well,
so.
we were serious artists.
I know
in a way.
We were serious and we were artistic, but
we also realized. But you know what? That was always what made the difference between New Yorkers and other cities. Like, you know, the whole idea of being superficial and fabulous and everything. We took it very seriously, but we also realized that it was ridiculous and a joke. But other cities like Los Angeles especially, take superficiality and that kind of, like the kind of plastic surgery kind of perfection and everything. They take it very seriously, but they don't realize that it's ridiculous and a joke. And that's the difference. And it's a huge difference.
Now, I'll give you examples of where I could have felt uncomfortable but have not, because I'm, mature and older. And I guess I came from a different generation where I experienced lots of hostility and discrimination when I was young. So I'm kind of not flustered by somebody, touching me inappropriately in a club. I would just walk away.
You're begging for people to touch you inappropriately.
Well, I don't mind if people touch me inappropriately anywhere except my face or my hair. You can touch my...
Don't touch
the hair. But you can touch my butt, that's okay. I'm fine with that.
How about your dick?
That's okay too.
Okay.
I'm okay with
So
that.
just the face and hair.
Just face and hair.
Right.
So, like say at On Top, Suzanne Barsh's party, which has not started yet, but it'll probably start in May. There's a doorman at the entrance, but it's not like he's keeping out the tourists. He's
there for a look.
He's there for a look, like to make it look like it's a New York City nightclub that has a doorman. But really all he's doing is just letting like all the fabulous people cut in front of the line. He's not like keeping...
Well, that's at least something.
That's at least something, but he's not keeping out the bridge and tunnel, or
Right.
telling them you're not cool enough to come
Do you
to
remember?
this.
Do you remember when the authorities made us do that at Limelight and Tunnel? There was a definite change from the area type and Palladium type mob scene out front, where it was like a semicircle of like
to a line.
Yeah, to a theater, to a movie theater basically.
Right.
And the way we got around that was there was a movie theater line off to the left at Limelight, and where the normals lined up. And then if you or Amanda or anybody came, they would just come to the ropes instead of waiting on. Of course, they're not going to wait on line. They would just come to the ropes, and you'd let them in. And Kenny would work those people and get them all in. And then when they were all in, he would go to the line and say, and they would come as they would come to the line, he'd say yes, 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 no, yes, yes, no, yes, no, and he would have a reason for it, in just in case, in his head, and he would say if there was a question, he would say, well, he's wearing sneakers or he's wearing whatever, which of course was not a rule, but he would have that in his head in case the police
He
would
had his
come.
own Rolodex of reasons
in
why
case the
you couldn't
police would come and say, why did you know how to? I mean, as ridiculous as that sounds, it's just sounding less and less ridiculous now. But he would have that, and that's kind of what that sounds like. What you're talking about is Suzanne.
Well, I love Suzanne's parties, but at On Top, it's happened to me more than once where I get these, dumb, drunk tourists that look at me and it's well, what are you supposed to be? What's going on here? Why are you dressed like that? And my response to them, or to some of them, has been, if you have to ask that question, you shouldn't even be at this party.
I would go a step further and not even respond to it.
But what I'm not going to do,
give them a look and walk away.
Well, the thing is though, some people are made to feel uncomfortable by those types of questions. So then, what are you going to do? Run to security and tell them to kick those people
They
out?
asked me what my look was about.
They're making fun of me. They're making me feel uncomfortable and not welcomed. They're look shaming me.
We should probably take a break and then come back because I have something really important to say about that.
All right.
And now a word from our sponsor. Welcome back to the Peeew.
Welcome back to the non-offensive edition of the Peeew.
Non-threatening?
Non-threatening, non-hurtful, thoughtful, selfless,
For your
soft.
total comfort.
Okay, so what I was going to say was that what nightlife used to be about was a lot of young people who were maybe bullied. I mean, it's become cliche at this point, but a lot of young people who were bullied or felt different in small towns and came to New York. And being bullied and threatened or whatever, made fun of in their small towns kind of made them stronger. And the strongest of that bunch would move to New York and become something. They would take whatever was their, whatever was the thing that made them bullied or whatever, and a lot of times they would be applauded for it, and they would maybe become very successful or maybe even famous for it. But now what it looks like is happening is they're bringing that to New York and making Clubland, or maybe even all of New York City, their new high school, and going to the principal of the school and telling on them, telling on the person who's bullying them or shaming them or mocking them or whatever. Instead of making them stronger, it seems to have all this coddling in high school and in elementary school of giving everybody awards, instead of just winners, and making sure everybody's equal and making sure nobody is. I mean, I'm not saying people should be bullied, but in some ways it does make you stronger. If you can get through it.
Well, nobody should be bullied.
Nobody should be bullied.
And I will also say that I'm very concerned about all these young club people in New York who feel threatened and not safe in nightclubs, because it's a completely opposite experience from what I'm having in nightclubs. And maybe they could say to me, well, I'm like they could say to me that I'm like some cis male and I'm kind of white, so I don't feel...
You're a sissy male.
And so I don't experience the same kind of harassment or oppression that like some trans person of color might experience. And maybe that's true, but I don't see oppression going on in nightclubs.
Yeah, because you may be a cis male and I'm a cis male, but we have eyes and ears and hearts and friends, and none of the people that I know who fall into that category have ever said anything to me like that about Clubland. In fact, Clubland is their escape, their refuge.
I mean, I have had female friends who have been groped in clubs and got very upset by being groped, and then we had to leave the club because...
Which club was it?
Webster Hall. I had to leave Webster Hall because asshole men were grabbing my friend's boobs, and she got very upset about it.
Yeah.
And and it's wrong. You're not supposed to do that. But that was never acceptable. It was not acceptable in the past.
Also wasn't
it's not
the
acceptable
norm.
in the present.
It also wasn't the norm. But Webster Hall also wasn't like a great club, and
It's again, we go back to the situation where when you just let anyone into the club who has $20, you're gonna get jerks grabbing women's breasts.
Right. Yes. Although I don't know if you remember the very, very beginning of Celebrity Club at Tunnel.
No.
Oh, you weren't there for the very beginning?
I don't know. I remember going to Celebrity Club at the very beginning.
At Tunnel?
Yeah, in the basement of Tunnel.
I don't know if you remember, there was an article, it was a big article in the Village Voice by Michael Musto called Wild in the Clubs. And it was kind of about this. It was about the wildness of Celebrity Club, but it was kind of the opposite. It was about the freaks and the club kids and the crazy people bothering and threatening and bullying the normal people. And the subject, the thing that brought it all to the attention was this poet. Her name was Rose something, and she was kind of a famous poet. And she was at Celebrity Club, and during the hot body contest, she was grabbed and pulled up onto the stage and forced to remove all her clothes.
Forced.
Yes. And she was screaming and crying, and it was in a way it was a kind of rape, and And
you could say that. It's a
yeah,
violation, for
it
sure.
was a violation. And Michael still wrote about it, and that I remember the night very specifically. And Diamante Gallas was the celebrity of the week, and Michael still came up to me either as it was happening or just immediately after it had happened, and he asked me if I had called security or what I had done. He said, "Did you call security?" And I said, "Of course I did," but sarcastically. So I mean, it was just a complete flip flop, like a 180 degree flip flop from that kind of thing.
Well, I think I'm going to go on that.
Neither side, let me go on record, is correct. The freaks shouldn't be bullying the normals, and the normals shouldn't be bullying the freaks, and the normals shouldn't be bullying normals, and freaks shouldn't be bullying freaks. It happens though.
Well, I'm going to go onto that Google Doc that's circulating, and I'm going to put, my suggestion is going to be that they should bring back discriminating door people.
Yeah.
That will keep out the people that misbehave.
Bring back discrimination. Thanks. See you later.
Bye.